Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, most of you probably already know this, but we are in the beginnings of a Great Depression that will not only be constrained here to the United States, but that will envelop most of the Western nations. I believe that a lot of the BRICS nations are going to be insulated from this Great Depression that we're going to be going through, but this is the time to prepare. And here they're asking, inflation or recession? Well, I believe it's going to be both, which is the meaning of stagflation. And after stagflation comes depression. You see, ladies and gentlemen, inflation is what we've been experiencing. Recession is what we're going to experience when all of these jobs start to disappear. Stagflation is when we have high inflation and low economic growth. And Great Depression is when you just add all of that stuff together, and it is as bad as it was back in 1933-34 when they started their Great Depression. But in this case, it's going to be a lot worse. So this is the time to prepare. Just like Germany is telling their people to prepare, this is the time for all of you to prepare and get ready for the years ahead. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Right? The bottom of the market did not occur for about 2 or 3 years after 1929. And that's when the Great Depression really started, because there was no capital to be found. It was really more of a deflationary depression than anything else. While many market participants are concerned about rate increases, they appear to be ignoring the largest risk, the potential for a massive liquidity drain in 2023. I've talked about this in the past, that what we have to watch out for most of all is liquidity. Liquidity is going to dry up. In my opinion, and I'm not an expert at this, it's because there's so much debt in the market that there's not enough money. So for example, let's say that you're a trader, right? You're a hedge fund trader or whatever, and you like to hedge your trades, hedge your bets. So how do a lot of hedge funds do this? They actually hold gold. More than likely, they hold paper gold, right? That they purchase in the open market. Why do they hold gold? Because gold is very liquid. So let's say that the stock market just tanks all of a sudden. What do you think is going to happen to gold and silver? They're going to tank right along with it. Why? Because as the stock market is tanking, you have a lot of hedge funds or investors, let's say, that are looking to get liquidity in order to cover what they don't have to pay for the stocks that they have losses on. I hope I explained that in a way that you can understand. And here they say that capital can only be made or destroyed. It never remains constant. And if central banks are to effectively fight inflation, capital destruction is unavoidable, meaning that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs in the coming next year. People are going to be destitute, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that 2008 was bad, this is going to be much worse. The good news is that you still have time to prepare. Go out there and get that second job if you need to. That way you can be insulated from being laid off or let go altogether by having a 3 to 6 month supply, of cash and reserves that you can live on for that time frame while you're looking for another job, because a lot of people will lose their jobs, and therefore a lot of people will lose their homes. I see a lot of suffering happening in the next several years to come. To finish it off, central banks are also aware of the worst case scenario, which is elevated inflation and a recession that could have prolonged impact on citizens. That is going to be stagflation. Elevated inflation and a recession at the same time is stagflation. After that comes Great Depression. With rising discontent and generalized impoverishment, they know they cannot keep inflation high just to justify market expectations of rising valuations. The same central banks that assert that the wealth effect multiplies positively are aware of the disastrous consequences of ignoring inflation. What are they saying? They're saying that central banks know that they cannot continue to print money in order to keep the stock market high, but that if they stop printing money, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's the opposite. The stock market's going to go down, and of course we'll have a liquidity crunch that will also take out a lot of the employed. Unemployment is going to go up through the roof in the next year. That's what I'm thinking. German disaster official recommends stockpiling several crates of water and canned food. I hope that our German brothers and sisters and all of Europe have been paying attention to what's been going on, because I hope that you're stocked up already, but if you're not, you need to stock up. Now it's your government telling you, at least in Germany, that you need to stock up. However, I have to disagree with how long they tell you that you should be stocked up for. The head of Germany's Federal Office for Civil Protection and Disaster Relief, BBK, has warned citizens to prepare for short-term power outages, particularly in January and February, and to stock up on rations in advance. January and February are usually the coldest months of the year. We've talked about blackouts are coming. Get prepared now, ladies and gentlemen. Find a way to at least make what I like to call a hot room or a warm room. Pick one of the smallest rooms in your homes that's well insulated, that you can put a small heater in to keep you and your family warm, just in case you have blackouts that extend farther than what they're telling you of a few hours per day. They continue to say, we have to assume that there will be blackouts this winter. By that, I mean a regional and temporary interruption in the power supply. The cause will not only be energy shortages, but also the targeted and temporary shutdown of the networks by operators. And the reason that they would do this is in order to protect the entire system. So they probably have to shut down certain parts of the grid in order for the entire grid not to black out. So expect that it's coming, because they're telling you right now that it is coming. They say that we expect short-term blackouts rather than long-lasting, large-scale blackouts. But good preparation is important for that as well, they added. So what to do? This is what they recommend that you do, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 bits to it. What to stock up? Primarily water, several crates, and canned food. That would be enough for 10 days. I say that stock up at the very minimum. If you are not prepared whatsoever and you have the average of 2 to 3 days worth of food in your home like most people do, go out there, ladies and gentlemen, get the things that you eat every day and stock up your pantry for at least 2 to 3 months at the very minimum. This is if you're not prepared. At the very minimum, 2 to 3 months. In my opinion, the very least that would do for you is help you actually earn a little bit of income, meaning that you'll have to pay less for that food later that you buy today. Right? If you take a look at my pantry, a lot of the foods that I have there are probably within a year old or so. As I fill in the gaps, I get newer foods. But a lot of the food that I have there that I bought at this time last year has already earned me, in my opinion, about 50%. And the reason I say it has earned me 50% of income is because it's income that I get now that I won't have to spend at today's prices, except for being able to fill in the gaps whenever I find a sale here or there. They say that our message is prepare in the first place. Be prepared for possible crises. Don't assume that everything will be readily available all the time. He said that residents should also purchase battery-powered radios and candles. I don't know how much else to say this, or in what different words I can say this to wake up those of you that think that someone's going to come to your rescue when the lights go out. It is up to you, ladies and gentlemen, to get prepared now. You've been warned for years from channels on YouTube and other social media that have to do with preparedness. Now it's your own government telling you to prepare. Maybe you ought to listen. And the railroad strike is back, ladies and gentlemen, or the tentative railroad strike, let's say. 2 largest railroad unions split over labor deal as Christmas strike looms. And this update, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much says that 54% of the members of those 2 railroad unions that are still holding out said that they should take the deal. However, the Transportation Workers Union rejected ratifying the labor agreement. So the agreement is not ratified, even though more than half of the workers said that they would take the deal. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, just be prepared with those things that you need. If we do have a strike in the railroad, there's going to be a lot of things that are not going to be on the shelf for however long it may take for that strike to be resolved. And once the strike is over, depending on how long the strike was, they don't just get those trains and all of those things moving overnight. It's not like flipping a switch. It's going to take some time for them to get back on the rails. Our expectation is that no matter what happens, Congress is still going to need to step in, says Scott Jensen, Director of Issue Communications at the American Chemistry Council. So they want Congress to step in instead of just taking care of it themselves. I'll leave my opinion out of that. You probably all know how I feel about that already. And to finish it off, ladies and gentlemen, it says that a rail shutdown could freeze almost 30% of U.S. cargo shipments by weight. Stoke inflation, of course, there's going to be inflation because the things that those rail carts carry are going to be in short supply because they're not moving. So it's going to make it more expensive. It will cost the American economy as much as $2 billion per day and unleash a cascade of transport woes affecting U.S. energy, agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, and retail sectors. So it's pretty much going to affect everything that we need on an everyday basis in order to sustain our standard of living. Easy fix to that. I'll say it again for the 50th time. Just get prepared. And the last one, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the drought that we are having is causing more havoc for shipping of grains. Export grain shippers more options amid limited barge rail capacity. Grain shippers have been scrambling to consider all their export options in the wake of low water levels on the Mississippi River and its tributaries. Low water levels have reduced the capacity to ship grain exports via barge. And imagine if we have a rail strike as well. Oh my goodness. Wow. Sending those rates to the highest levels in years, according to the USDA. Barge rates for agricultural transport along key points of the U.S. waterway system have fallen for the week of November 8th after experiencing price spikes in November. Imagine if we do have a rail strike as well. Wow, that would be terrible. Finishing it off, the barge rates right now are the highest they've ever been, said Max Fisher, who is a chief economist of the National Grain and Feed Association. Ladies and gentlemen, there's hope. And the hope is this: you still have time to prepare. It's a lot more expensive today than it was a year ago, but if you haven't started, you have to start somewhere. All right? If you have not started preparing, think about it. Think about if all of these things that we talked about just in this short video happen. What are you going to do to get the things that you need in order to maintain yours and your family's standard of living? Having said that, have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.